morning, everybody, boys and girls. Thanks for having us here. We're here to talk about something really important, something that you probably are very up to date on, something that you're probably more proficient in than me, which is navigating on cell phones and working through the internet and doing that with respect for others and making sure that you're safe while you're doing it. This morning we have a very, very, very special guest that has come to Tewksbury. I want you to try to give her your full attention. She's a very, very, very busy woman. As you know, I am the chief of police, which means that I lead the 64 men and women that are the police officers here in Tewksbury. And the person that has come to speak with you today happens to be, she has the coolest job in the whole entire Middlesex County. She happens to be the chief law enforcement officer, which means she's the chief of the chiefs and the chief of all the police officers in the Middlesex County. And that's our district attorney, Marion Ryan. She's been a district attorney in the Middlesex County since 2013. Prior to that, she's been a prosecutor throughout her whole entire career. She's been responsible for bringing people to justice that commit crimes. And some of the special things that she does is meet with guys like you, guys and girls, and that's some of the funnest work that she does as the DA, to work on prevention stuff, to make sure that nobody gets into trouble, nobody gets in an unsafe situation, and to make sure that nobody puts themselves in a position where somebody that doesn't mean such good things for you steps in and tries to take advantage of you because you're little. So with that, I'm going to introduce our district attorney, Marion Ryan, who is really, really, really excited about being here and helping you guys learn a little bit about internet safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you all for coming in here this morning. I want to thank, again, Chief Sheehan. I want to thank your principal. I want to thank Maria Ruggiero for putting this all together today. And the Chief is right. I have an incredibly cool job, because part of my job is I get to work with the police officers, and another part is I get to go and meet with kids all over the place and talk to them about things that help them to stay safe. And I need to start by asking you guys a favor. So I have a question for you. How many people in here have ever known somebody, and I want you to just raise your hand, somebody your age, a little bit older, a little bit younger, who've gotten into some kind of trouble with their phone or their computer or something? Okay. And how many people think that that person who got in trouble really meant to do something incredibly wrong or unsafe? Do you think they meant to do something really wrong or unsafe? What got them in trouble? A few people. Okay. So here's the question and the favor I have to ask for you is, we are going to talk for a little while this morning about how you stay safe, how you are careful about not doing things that can get you in trouble. But here's my problem. So I come to the Ryan School, and I think that's cool because my last name is Ryan too. And usually I don't get to go to a school that's kind of has the same name as I do. But I talk to all of you, and in a little while I'm going to talk to the 5th grade. But everybody in here has brothers or sisters or cousins or friends who are not here, right? So they're not going to have this conversation. So who knows what the word ambassador means? What's an ambassador? Yeah. I'm sorry, that what? Yeah, that's kind of true, all right? Did you hear what he said? He said an ambassador is kind of somebody that rules something. And sort of what they rule for people is helping to get information. So suppose that I'm the president. Suppose I'm the president of the United States, and I really, really need to talk to the Queen of England. I need to talk to her about something really important. And it's something that I need to show her things and everything, so I can't really do it on the phone. I can't even really Skype. And it's kind of important, secret stuff, and I need to have that conversation. One thing I could do is I could leave the White House, I could go get on Air Force One, I could fly over to London, I could get to the palace, I could get myself up there, knock on the door of the palace, the Queen would come, I would curtsy to the Queen, say thank you for seeing me, Queen, and I would tell the Queen about why I was there. And then when I was done, I'd have to fly all the way back. That might take like 4 days for me to do that, right? And I'm busy, so that's a big chunk of time. The other thing I could do is I could find somebody that I really trusted, who was really smart, who could understand what I needed to explain to the Queen. And I could ask that person if they would be my ambassador, if they would go over to the palace and talk to the Queen and tell the Queen about what information she needed. All right? That's what an ambassador does. So he or she kind of rules that information in helping. And what I hope that you will do for us today is not only learn about what we're talking about, but that you will take that information and talk to your brothers and sisters, your cousins, your friends, maybe the people you know who found themselves in a little bit of trouble with their devices, so that kids will stay safe and kids will keep themselves out of trouble. And that would really help me, because then it's not just the 256th graders, it's everybody you know. So that helps me get that information to a whole lot more people. So I hope that what we talk about today, you will spread around and talk to everybody about that, okay? Now, I have another question for you. How many people in here use some kind of a device, a phone, a laptop, whatever, every day? How many use it every day? Okay, so pretty much everybody, all right? And how you can do lots of different things, right? You can talk to your friends, you can take pictures, you can share the pictures, you can look up things that you want to know, you can watch a movie, you can listen to music, huge amount of things that you can do on your devices, right? Like if I left you alone in this room right now just with your device, you could probably keep yourself busy for a couple of hours. You could play some games, listen to some music, do whatever it is that you wanted to do. Okay, but here's the question I have for you. How many people in here like to play a sport? All right. And how many people in here think that it's pretty cool to be a professional athlete, to be like a Bruins player or a Red Sox player or something? Even if you don't want to be it, it's kind of cool to be one of those, right? And to get to be a professional athlete means you have to have some talent for playing that sport, right? And you have to have spent about 1 million hours practicing and getting good at what you're doing, right? If you want to play t-ball or soccer or lacrosse or something, you got to go to practice, you got to follow the drills, do everything you're supposed to do. And if you're a professional athlete, you make a whole lot of money, right? If you're a famous Red Sox player or a famous Bruins player, you're making a whole lot of money. And you not only make a whole lot of money for playing on the team, but if you're a winning player, especially, or you're on like a Boston team that wins all the time, like you're Tom Brady who's on the Patriots and you win all the time, you make a whole lot of money selling your name for things, right? You have Tom Brady t-shirts, hats, sneakers. They sell all kinds of stuff. The Tom Brady football. And every time somebody buys one of those, Tom Brady makes a little bit of money. All right? And if the Bruins win the Stanley Cup, the famous players on that team will all make a ton of money putting their pictures on things. So, how many people in here would want to buy any of those things, a t-shirt, sneakers, whatever it is, for the worst player on the worst team ever? Does anybody want to buy those? Worst player, worst team ever. Okay, so few people, because they're kind of like a collector's item, right? If you buy them for the worst player, right? That's right, they're very cheap. Now, how many people have ever heard of the Toronto Blue Jays? Okay, pretty famous team, right? How many people, and I just want you to raise your hands, how many people in here have ever heard of the game Fortnite? And I'm going to ask a really shocking question. How many people in here have ever played the game Fortnite? All right. How many people like playing Fortnite? How many people, oh, all you people play and you don't like it? How many people like to play Fortnite? All right, now I have another question. I want you to listen carefully. How many people, when you play Fortnite, have a hard time keeping a time limit of how long you're going to play? You think I'm just going to play for 10 minutes and then all of a sudden a half an hour has gone by? How many people play longer than they think they're going to play? Oh, is that the real answer? Everybody else stops right when they think they're going to stop? All right, so here's an example of a problem with spending too much time on your devices. So if you're a professional athlete, one of the things you spend a whole lot of time doing is traveling. All right, like if you're a Bruins player right now, you spend a lot of time going from Boston to St. Louis to play. You play the game, and then you have to come back, and there's the driving to the airport, and the waiting at the airport, and the flying, and the getting back to the Boston, to TD Garden from the airport. A lot of time. So players on the Toronto Blue Jays really love to play Fortnite. All right? And they were playing Fortnite so much that they were staying up way later than they were supposed to. Because when you're a professional athlete and you're traveling, they have a bedtime that they want everybody in their bed because they want you to be well rested for the game. They were playing way too much. When you're a professional athlete, you have to rest some of the time when you're traveling, like sleep on the plane, sleep in the bus, because a lot of your time is spent doing that. And these guys, like real, full-size, grown-up men who are making millions, millions and millions. Think big million piles of money. That's how much money they're getting for being a professional baseball player. And they are old enough to know that you need, in order to be good, you have to get rest and eat and be ready to play, right? Everybody here knows that. Before you're gonna play a big game, you wanna get some sleep, you wanna make sure you eat, you wanna drink a lot of water. Well, they sort of had a problem. They were spending so much time playing Fortnite, they weren't going to sleep, they weren't getting to meals, and they were losing a whole bunch of games. All right? And when you lose a whole bunch of games, sometimes your coach loses their job. Sometimes you don't get those big contracts for the sweatshirts and the t-shirts and the hats and all that stuff. So the team had to ban Fortnite from them when they were working. So when they were waiting for a game, when they were traveling, when they were coming back, after a game, just like you have rules in school about you can't be using your devices, for those grown men, they had to make a rule that they couldn't be playing Fortnite because it was costing the team so much money. They just weren't ready for the games, they weren't playing well, and the coaches and the owners of the team said, that's it, Fortnite's our problem. So no more Fortnite. Okay? So that's one kind of problem you can find yourself in. You can find yourself playing so much that you're giving up other parts of your life. I mean, think about it if I said to you, you could be a professional player, you can make millions of dollars, or you can play Fortnite. Which do you pick? And some people were picking playing Fortnite. Okay, so that's not like a good, reasonable choice. So one issue is how much time you spend on those devices, right? And the other is thinking about what the balance is between using it really positively, right? We talked a little bit about, like if you get a project in school and you need to know about something, you can go on the internet and you can find out all kinds of cool stuff, right? And there's all kinds of cool things that you can, we talked about some of those, but some of these great things like a year in space. If you haven't seen that, people should look at that. It's really cool. Hashtag a year in space. It's astronauts that literally are sending stuff back live from space, so it's very, very cool. You probably heard of the Ice Bucket Challenge. There's a guy who played football at BC, and he now has ALS, which is a really terrible disease that paralyzes you, and he's been trying to raise money to do research to find a cure. And he came up with a challenge, which was famous people agreed to have a bucket of ice dumped over their head, and people would pay money to watch that. All right, kind of like when you go to a carnival or something and there's a dunk tank. So people would pledge money to do research for that disease to watch famous people get that ice dumped on them. And he's raised millions and millions of dollars, over $115 million he's managed to do from that, okay? So those are all good things that can be happening, but we all know there's some bad things that can happen, right? Some, starting down here in the bottom, a juvenile or a young person got arrested for making a threat on social media. Right? So people put something out there, they make a list, they send a text, whatever, something bad's gonna happen to somebody. You can't scare people like that. So that's a threat that people can get in trouble for. The stranger danger piece is people who find people who are taking advantage of kids. Right? You might have seen on the news just this week, we had a terrible, terrible case not very far from here of a 13-year-old girl who found some people online and ended up spending some time with them, and at some point they dropped her off at the hospital, and she didn't survive taking the drugs and doing some of the things that she had been out there with them. So you can find people that you don't really know, who it's not safe for you to be talking to. Bullying, right? Just being really mean to people. You can do that. I can just walk up and say mean things to you or call you names, or I can be doing it on my device. Right? I can be sending you mean pictures. I can be saying mean things about you. And then one of the things that can happen, you know, is that lots of times kids, especially because, right, if I walk up to you and I call you a nasty name, or I tell you that you don't look nice today, or you're not good at something, that's not nice. It's going to make you feel bad. But if I say that and I walk away, you're probably going to think about that some more today. But that's really different than when people are saying that stuff online. And especially if they're saying it online a whole bunch of times, they're saying it in a group chat or something where everybody else can add in. Because if I walk up and I say something mean to you, you think, well, okay, that isn't nice, but that's what I think. I still have you can think to yourself, I still have a whole lot of friends and people who really like me. But if I go into a group chat and I start saying mean things to you, and every kid on this side of the room joins in that chat and they're saying mean stuff to you, now it's like a whole flood of meanness coming at you. And not only that, not only is there a huge pile of mean things coming at you, but they're right there on your device. So every time you look at your device, you're going to see the things again that say you're not doing well, you don't look good, you're not good at things. So you just keep reading it over and over and over again. So now I got a whole bunch of people saying the same thing, and I got it in a way that I'm carrying it in my pocket. So even if you go home and you're lying on your bed and you're looking on your phone, now you're seeing again and again the nasty things that people are saying. Okay? So bullying's not a new thing, but being able to bully people online is. And it's really much, much worse for people. And when people feel like that, like they're being bullied, everybody doesn't like them, no one in the 6th grade likes me, kids sometimes stop hanging out with their friends. They stop wanting to go to school. They start faking that they're sick or skipping school. And sometimes kids feel like they want to hurt themselves. because nobody likes me. Everybody in this room is sending me mean text. Okay, and we, unfortunately, the chief and I see that a lot. Right? And that's why it's one of the things that's so important to me that as you're being ambassadors for us, it's not nice to say a mean thing to anybody, but you don't need 300 people to say it. And the other thing is, and this is what makes it really hard sometimes. If you walked up to me and you said a really mean thing to me, even if you were really mad at me, and it was something that really, really hurt me, because you're a nice person, probably when you saw how my face looked when you said that, or I started to cry, or I put my head down like I was going to cry, because you were a good person, you'd probably feel kind of bad. Even if you were mad when you first said it, you'd start to feel kind of bad about what you said. And maybe you'd then say something nice to me, or you'd walk away and you wouldn't keep saying that to me. But when you're writing it on a screen, you can't see the other person's face. So you're not seeing how much that hurts them. So it's just easier and easier to keep saying more mean things, and then you say something mean, and you say something meaner, and you say something meaner, and it's kind of like a game. And you forget that there's a person at the other end who might be crying on the outside, or they might be crying on the inside. Okay? And that's why sometimes when we look at somebody's phone after something happens, you see these awful, awful things, and you think, they're a nice person. Like, how could they have said all that stuff? They seem to be a really nice kid. Why did they say those terrible things that hurt their friend? And it's because they forget that there's a person on the other side of that. All right? They're just busy writing words and sending emojis. And you forget about who's going to get that picture. Okay? So the question always is the same question that the Blue Jays players have. How do you make a good choice? How do you use having your device to make you smarter, happier, better able to connect with people without doing anything bad? Right? One thing, and this is really important, is how many people on your device have a password? Why do you have a password? Yeah. I can't hear you. For security reasons, right? You have a password because the accounts you have on whatever you're using belong to you, right? And just like your locker or something, it's private. You don't want other people going through that. Well, one thing that kids do all the time is they sort of forget that it's supposed to be private, and they're friends with people, and they think it's a good idea to share their passwords with people. Right? And if I know your password, can I get in your account? And if I know your password, and I get in your account, and I do something really wrong from your account, is the principal going to be able to tell whether that was you or that was somebody else?
No.
Right. Okay? So you're going to get blamed for what came out of your account. So your password is for security. You should keep it between you and your parents and no one else. Okay? And sometimes people do things like, and I bet if you walked around this school you might find an example. How many people have ever forgotten their password? All right. How many people have more than one password? How many people have ever gotten their passwords all confused and they can't remember which one goes with which thing? Right? So sometimes people write those down and they put them somewhere. Sometimes they stick them right on their computer or something. Right? Probably all of you have seen what I'm sure is true at the police station, it's true in my office. Sometimes people write their password on a little sticky and they stick it right on the computer. Well, if I come to that computer, it's not going to be really hard for me to figure out how to get in because the password's right there. Okay? Sometimes, you know, one thing we see a lot, for instance, is people who are like your grandparents. A lot of times they weren't always used to using like passwords for their bank account and all that stuff. So they want to be sure to remember. So they write their password like on their bank card or on the little envelope that your bank card goes in. Right? So if you have a bank card and you have one of those little envelopes that it goes in and you write the password right on it, when you drop that bank card somewhere and somebody finds it, it's really easy for them to go take money out of your account because you wrote the password right on the back. Okay? So you need to be careful about protecting your password. And if you're using a computer that's someplace where other people can use it, like you're in the library or whatever, when you're done, you need to log out. All right? Sometimes people are using a computer at the library, they get up, they go to the bathroom, they get a snack, they do whatever, they've left their account open. Other people can come over and do all kinds of stuff out of your account. Then you're in trouble, and you are trying to explain how that wasn't you, because it looks like you, because of your account. All right, so if you leave it, you want to forget that. All right, how many people in here, when you were little, your mom or dad or grandparents or grown-ups who take care of you said, never talk to strangers and never go anyplace with strangers? How many people, did somebody tell you that? All right, and you're all here and you're all safe, so you listen to that, right? How many people here have talked to somebody online that you didn't actually know what they look like? Okay, somebody that you don't know what they look like, what do we call those people? Strangers, right? They're not a stranger because you're talking to them online. And people forget that. All right? So when your family taught you, don't go with a stranger. If a stranger pulls up and offers you a ride, right, you're all smart. You would say, I'm not getting in that car. I don't know that person. I don't recognize them. All right? You wouldn't take money or candy or something from somebody you don't know. But lots and lots of kids, and we see this all the time, they think, well, I've been talking to that person for a little while online. They're my friend. Does anybody have any friends that you don't know what they look like? You have a friend you don't know what they look like? Where are they? I'm sorry? Okay. So the people you don't, yeah, you can turn around and look at him. The people that you've never seen, that you don't know what they look like, they are not your friends. Okay? And if I want to be, suppose I'm a person who wants to hurt a kid. It's pretty easy for me to go online and say, I'm a sixth grader. I'm a sixth grader in Wilmington. Right? I can say whatever. I can go over to the middle school in Wilmington and I can say I go to the Wilmington Middle School and I can talk about who the team is. I can talk about what's going on at school. That doesn't mean I'm really a sixth grader. You can't see me, so you don't know who I am. How many people have ever heard about or seen on TV like the kind of scams where people get you to send them a whole lot of money? Right? And how many people have ever heard about, like, you get an email from somebody and it seems to be your friend, and they say, I was in a car accident, or I was on a trip and my luggage got lost. Please send me some money to help me out. Right? A whole bunch of people send those people money because they mistakenly think that person is their friend. All right? I have a lot of friends. If one of my friends called me up and said, I went on vacation to Florida and my car broke down, could you send me $100 to help me out? I would send them $100 because I just talked to them on the phone and I know that's my friend. I could get an email from somebody who said, hey, my car broke down. This is the chief, my car broke down, can you send me $100? That doesn't really mean it is who they say they are. okay? So, I'm gonna tell you a story that has a good ending, but it's pretty scary, and it happened not very far from here, right? A girl in the 6th grade was talking to a whole bunch of people in a group chat for a while. But she didn't know all those people. She'd been talking to some people, and somebody was somebody's cousin, and somebody said, oh, this is my friend, and the chat was pretty big. She's talking back and forth, talking about everything, right? And one weekend, there's gonna be something in town, a carnival or something that she really wants to go to. And the days before the carnival, she does something at home that she's not supposed to do. She breaks one of the rules at her house. And her parents tell her that as a punishment, she can't go to this carnival or whatever it was she wanted to go to, right? She's mad. And I have a son and a daughter, and sometimes when they got punished, I would hear things like, I can't believe you're doing this, so unfair, right? So there's a lot of fighting going back and forth with her, and she and her parents. And she's talking to her friends in the chat room, like, I can't believe my parents won't let me go, this is gonna be the best thing, I can't go, back and forth, back and forth. And one of the people in the chat room, who she thinks is a 6th grade boy in a town near her, sends her a message that says, well, if you can't go, why don't you just come to my house? Come hang out with me. Come on Friday. I'll take the commuter rail and meet you. And we'll just hang out. Bring some clothes, we can change, we can hang out. So Friday comes, and her dad drives her to school, and he drops her off at the school, and she's still mad, so she's not talking too much in the car. And as she's walking to school, her dad notices she's got her backpack on her shoulders, and it seems to be kind of heavy, sort of hanging back like it's heavy. So when he goes home, he talks to her mom, and he says, you know, why'd she have such a heavy backpack? What'd she take to school? And they don't know. And they look around in her room, and some of her stuff isn't there. Some of her clothes aren't there. They look online on her device, and they see that she's supposed to be meeting this person in the afternoon. So they don't know what to do, and they're trying to figure out if they should be really worried. And they finally decide that they're a little scared about who this kid is, because they don't know who it is. So they call the police, and the police go down to the train station. She's supposed to meet this kid near the train station at 3 o'clock. So the parents give the police a picture of her so they know who she is, right? And this happened not even a 15-minute drive from here. So at about 3 o'clock, sure enough, they see her walking over. They recognize her from the picture. She's got her backpack on. And the train comes. And they're watching for this 6th grade boy to get off the train. So they see some people get off the train that they know on who they're looking for. You know, there's an elderly lady, there's some moms with little kids. People they know are not the right people, they get off the train. And then they see a guy get off the train. Kind of like a 30-something-year-old guy. And they see that he has a picture in his hand. Well, he starts walking towards the girl, and the police wait till he gets right over there. And then they get out of the car and they go over. Well, that 30-something-year-old guy is the person she was texting with, that she thought was in the 6th grade. She had sent him a picture of herself, just a picture playing sports or something. He's got that picture. And in his pocket, he has 2 train tickets to Virginia. His plan was to meet up with her and take her to Virginia. Right? And that story would not probably have had a really good ending. Now, she didn't plan to go to Virginia with somebody who was 30 years old. She was planning to hang out in the next town with a kid in the 6th grade. But she never saw that person she was talking to. She never saw the person she sent the picture of herself to. Okay? So that story had a good ending because her parents got worried and called the police. But one of the most important things you can remember is the people you are talking to. If you don't know what that person looks like, right? If you don't know them, they don't go to school with you, they don't live in your neighborhood, you couldn't pick them out. They are a stranger. They are strangers you should not share your information with, and you shouldn't meet up with, and you certainly shouldn't go anywhere with. Any different than when your mom and dad told you don't go anyplace with a stranger, like getting in a car or going someplace. Okay? Because one of the things we worry about the most is people that want to get into bad stuff with kids acting, if they sent out a text that said, I'm a bad person, I'm going to hurt you, would you please come with me? Nobody would be going, right? So they trick you. They make you think they're a safe person. Okay? Another thing is, it's pretty easy to figure out, if I'm somebody who's looking to find kids, I can use your location devices on your phone to figure out where you are. Okay, so sometimes you're somewhere, you're at the mall, you're at the pool, you're somewhere with your friends. You're taking pictures of your friends, and you're posting those pictures somewhere. Okay, pretty easy for me to do that. And a lot of places where you go are gonna want to hashtag post what you're doing. So you go to a really cool restaurant, you go to a really cool place, they want you to hashtag do whatever it is, so other people will see it and think, wow, that's a cool mini golf place, that's a cool ice cream place. So you want to make sure the location devices on your phone are turned off. Because just like your password is private, where you are is private. All right, you don't want somebody to be able to look at pictures and say, here's a bunch of beautiful girls, here's a bunch of handsome guys. I could go there and they're there right now. All right, so your privacy setting should always be on private. And the other thing you need to be careful of is sometimes even if you think you put your settings on private, over time they can default, like they can change back to something else. So every once in a while you just want to check. If you don't know how to do that, you want to find out how to do that. Right? How to make those all be private. Right? And the other thing is the same thing. Right, what I was talking about. The things that you might say to somebody in person that would be disrespectful or offensive, or the words that you wouldn't want to use in front of us, you shouldn't be typing those on your device either. Okay, that's not, doesn't become okay. The violent stuff, all right? Or, this is my least favorite, hardest to understand. How many of you have ever seen a Tide Pod? Right, those little things you throw in the washing machine, they have detergent in them. All right, now, you are a very intelligent group of 6th graders. Is there anybody in here who thinks that swallowing detergent would be a good idea? Anybody who thinks that's good for you? Okay, but people started doing a video of themselves eating Tide Pods. All right? Okay, it's really dumb, but a lot of kids have ended up in the hospital getting their stomach pumped of detergent. So people sometimes do really stupid things, and they take a video of them. And somebody sees that video and thinks, I can be even stupider. All right, it is not a contest to be the most stupid. So people saw, we had a whole bunch of kids end up really sick because people took Tide Pods, ate the Tide Pods, and we're posting online like, I ate 8 Tide Pods. And then somebody else was like, I ate 10 Tide Pods. Okay? 1 was not good for you, 5 was not good for you, and 10 was really bad for you. All right? So just recently, we had a kid get pretty hurt Because kids, how many people in here skateboard? Right? Skateboarding's a great thing, really fun. If you go to a skateboard park, you can do really cool stuff. Anybody of my friends who just said they skateboard, do you think skateboarding off the back of a moving car would be a good idea? Is there anybody who thinks that's a good idea? Well, not very far from here, somebody skateboarded off the back of a moving car in the school parking lot. Okay, they climbed up on the roof, they had their skateboard, and they came down the back of the car on their skateboard. And somebody else filmed it. Okay, instead of telling their friend, again, being an ambassador, instead of telling their friend, don't be ridiculous, do not get on top of that car with a skateboard, they stood there and filmed it. And then they posted it. And then people thought that was a cool thing to do. How many people think somebody got hurt that day? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay? How many people think that the people in that parking lot that day were not smart enough to figure out that coming off a moving car is not a good idea? They knew. They somehow think that if I do it like on video, I'm going to be safe. Okay? It's not less foolish if you do it on video. So you want to be thinking about the stuff that people are doing, okay? Those kind of crazy, crazy videos. All right? Then there's the thing about people sharing pictures. Okay, it's great to go someplace, have fun, and share pictures. There are lots of pictures that maybe you take of yourself or you take of somebody else that are inappropriate pictures. All right? It is, first of all, wrong, right? Wrong for somebody to ask you to take that kind of a picture. To ask you to take off some of your clothes or stick your phone up your shirt or down your pants or take those pictures. Okay? It is wrong for anyone to ask you that. It is wrong for anybody to send those pictures. All right? So even if we're friends, you ask me to take that kind of a picture, or I take that kind of a picture, and I send you that picture. All right? It is wrong for me to send it, it's wrong for you to have it, and it's wrong for you to send it anyplace else. Okay? And I'm going to tell you a little secret that's a big lie. Sometimes people think that things like Snapchat, the pictures disappear. So people think, even if I take a really goofy, inappropriate, nasty picture, it's going to be gone. And Snapchat kind of advertises that. The problem is, just like when you buy something else that tells you it's going to be the best ever, the biggest ever, the most special, and it kind of isn't, that's an advertising lie. So you can take a Snapchat picture and think it has disappeared. If there's a problem about that picture, and either the police or my office are looking at your phone, we can find that picture. Promise. Okay, and that's a real promise. And the other thing is, even if we're not looking at your phone, I want you to think about something for a second. Before we had the internet, right, when people used to get their information like out of a book or a magazine, if I was going to write a book or I was going to publish a magazine, I would know that I had so many pages and I had to fill them up with things. So I would get stories, I would get pictures, I would get some ads, and I would fill up all those pages. And then I'd be done. When you look for something on the internet, think about this. If you picked a topic, anything that you're interested in, and I asked you right now to take out your device and look up what it is, some kind of music, dancing, anything. Do you ever get to the end of that information? Do you ever get to every piece of information there ever was about that topic? No, right? Like if I asked you right now to take out your phones and look up like hockey or the Stanley Cup or any of those things, you would look up a whole bunch of articles, and then you could keep clicking, and you could keep looking at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of articles. All right? That's because the internet doesn't have a limit of the number of pages like a book or a magazine. So the internet always has to be finding things to put out there. So what happens is, the internet has what are called trollers. Right? Has anybody ever been to the beach? Right? You've been to the beach and you stand in the water, and you know how if you scraped the bottom of the sand, you can find all kinds of stuff. You can find rocks, you can find shells, you can find bottle caps, you can find all kinds of stuff, right? When you scrape along the bottom of that water, you are trolling, right? You're just pulling up whatever's down there. You pull up plants, you pull up rocks, you pull up pretty seashells. The internet has exactly the same thing. Because it has, if you think of like a bazillion empty pages that it has to fill out, it's always looking for information. So if you have something in one of your accounts, even if you throw it away, whatever it is, it goes to the bottom, like the bottom of the water, and the internet is always scooping through there, picking stuff up. That's why sometimes if you're looking on your devices, right, you're looking on your device today, it's Wednesday, and maybe you see some kind of a picture or a story or whatever. And maybe you throw that away. You look at it, you're not interested in it, you throw it away. And sometimes, like weeks from now, that thing pops back up again, right? And you don't know why that's back. It's because it got trolled back up. So that's why it's so important before you hit send on something, whatever it is, you think, is this somebody that I want everybody I know to see? Do I want my parents, my grandparents, everybody I care about to see that? Because it's never gonna be really gone, okay? I'll give you an example. We had a woman who worked for us who, when she was in college, took some inappropriate pictures of herself, right? Some pictures doing some crazy things. And she posted the pictures. Nothing bad happened to the pictures. Nobody stole the pictures. Nobody spread them around. Nothing happened. And when she got a little bit older, she thought, those are really inappropriate pictures. She took them down. And she went to law school, and she got a really good job. It was all great. And then, one day, one of her friends called her and said, there's some really weird pictures of you on the internet. So she looked, and there were those inappropriate pictures that were now like 7 years old, posted, right? She didn't post them, nobody else posted them, they just got scooped up from the bottom. And all of those websites have a rule that they can't post pictures without your permission. So she sent a letter to them, said, I didn't give you permission. They said, great, they took the pictures down. Well, a few months later, the pictures popped up somewhere else. And they just keep popping up, okay? So it's important that you remember that whatever you post and send around is like a piece of artwork. It's like something you write. It's going to keep popping up, okay? Do not think that anything you send disappears, because it doesn't, okay? We can find it if it's a problem, and it can pop up even when you don't expect it, all right? So this is a really easy way. If you just think, before you post something, you should think about, is it true? What I'm putting up there, is that true? Like I say something really nasty and mean about somebody, it's not really true. Is it helpful? Is it helpful to post some scary thing, some mean thing? Is it inspiring? Is it going to make anybody feel good? Everybody looks at those little things, videos and stuff that make you happy. Is that what you're posting going to make somebody happy? Is it necessary for me to put it up there? And most importantly, because you're all good kids, is that a kind thing to do? Whatever I'm putting up there, that picture that makes somebody look really foolish, the nasty thing that I say, the crazy thing like the Tide Pods, is it kind to put that up there? All right? And again, as I said to you, the bullying piece, the putting things out there, whether you do them at school or it's about school, okay, that's all against the law. And then especially things that threaten somebody or can be hurtful, right? That's the kind of thing you don't want to be posting up there. All right, so I'm going to give the chief a second if he has anything to add, but I want to thank you for having me here today. And remember, thank you for being ambassadors for us.
I also want to thank you because you guys were all an excellent audience for the district attorney who's taken time out of her busy day to come to Tewksbury to help. I just wanted to ask a couple of questions because I know you're all in 6th grade, so everybody in 6th grade, did you take the RAD Kids program when you were in 4th grade? Did everybody raise your hand if you took the RAD Kids program? Because everybody that goes through 4th grade now goes to the RAD Kids program, correct? And did you learn things in the RAD Kids program about respecting others and treating everybody appropriately and being kind to people and trying to, respect other people when you're on the internet? So that is something that you should also take with you with the message that was spread by the district attorney today about proper internet safety and being respectful of others, because as the DA had indicated, we answer a lot of calls over the course of the year where something that was really innocent or something that someone really didn't mean, they put on a device and sent to another individual or a group of individuals, and it causes an awful lot of problems. This year alone, we've evacuated schools and moved kids from schools because people that really didn't mean the things they said put them online and put other people in a very risky, dangerous situation. So I really appreciate your attention today. I really appreciate the fact that that you learned some very valuable things today, and that I also ask that you take with you all of the stuff that you learned when you were in the RAD Kids program all the way through until you graduate high school and go on to college, because it's super important that we're good to one another, right? I mean, everybody in here, we have bad days and sometimes we're mad at our friends, but we really don't want to have anybody hurt themselves because we started a rumor or said something bad about them on a device that everybody joined in on. Is that right? So let's end on a good note and put our fingers together and hope that the Bruins win a Stanley Cup, because we haven't won a championship in about 30 days in Boston. And I see where your priorities are, because up here next to Abe Lincoln, who was responsible for some very important things in our country's history, is right next to that is David Ortiz. So thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your day. And